April 18th marks the anniversary of the opening session of the 1955 Bandung Conference, more formally known as the Afro-Asian Conference. The conference, which took place in Bandung, Indonesia, was jointly organized by the governments of Indonesia, Burma, India, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan, and occurred at a pivotal moment in the history of the Global South. It brought together representatives from 29 countries representing more than half the world's population and would set the direction for an entire political movement. But what exactly is the Bandung Conference and what is its legacy? Hey everyone, I'm Noah Zerby. I'm a professor of global politics at California State Polytechnic University Humboldt. Welcome to IR Explainer, where I explore the concepts and theories behind current events in international relations and global politics. The Bandung Conference took place from April 18th to the 24th of 1955. At the time, Cold War tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union were in full force. The movement towards decolonization was also underway. The major colonial powers at the time, the United Kingdom and France, and to a lesser extent, Belgium, Italy, Portugal, and Spain, as well as others, were economically and militarily exhausted after World War II. As a result, they were not in a position to maintain colonial occupation of the Global South in perpetuity. In 1947, India secured its independence from the United Kingdom. This symbolically marked the beginning of the end of the British Empire. India had long been viewed as the most important of the British colonies, and if it were to achieve independence, then independence for Britain's other colonies was likely only a matter of time. But at the time of the meeting at Bandung, much of the Global South remained under European colonial control. Across Africa, only 6 countries were independent in 1955: Egypt, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Liberia, Libya, and South Africa, though South Africa was governed by a domestic white minority regime and would not actually transition to multiracial democracy until 1994. Asia, for its part, had fared slightly better, with many countries securing their independence in the late 1940s. As a result, there was both a bevy of countries supportive of efforts towards decolonization and a host of countries struggling to achieve their independence. These forces came together at Bandung. From its outset, the conference's official aims were to promote Afro-Asian economic and cultural cooperation and to oppose colonialism and neocolonialism. The final conference document, the Declaration on Promotion of World Peace and Cooperation, was unanimously adopted on April 24, 1955. That communique outlined 10 primary conclusions: respect for fundamental human rights and for the purposes and principles of the Charter of the United Nations, respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all nations, respect for the equality of all races and of the equality of all nations large and small, abstention from intervention or interference in the affairs of another country, respect for the rights of each nation to defend itself singly or collectively in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, abstention from the use of arrangements of collective defense to serve any particular interests of the big powers, and abstention by any country from exerting pressure on other countries, refraining from acts or threats of aggression or the use of force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any country, settlement of all international disputes by peaceful means such as negotiation, conciliation, arbitration, or judicial settlement, as well as the peaceful means of parties of their own choice in conformity with the Charter of the United Nations, promotion of mutual interests and cooperation, and respect for justice and international obligations. But even beyond the formal declaration, the political impact of the Bandung Conference was immense. It marked the informal beginning of the non-aligned movement and the Group of 77, which would become an important caucusing bloc within the United Nations system and would lobby for the interests of the Global South in that institution. But it also marked the formal articulation of the political ideal of the Third World, not as a hierarchy in global politics, but rather as a third way, an alternative to both the capitalist model of economic development promoted by the United States and the communist model of economic development promoted by the Soviet Union. In embracing for themselves the identity of Third World, participating countries at the Bandung Conference were attempting to create a political and economic path for themselves that avoided, or at least sought to avoid, exploitation by the global North and instead emphasized cooperation among the countries of the global South. Economically, the Bandung Conference ultimately led to the articulation of demands for a new International Economic Order, or NIEO, at the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, UNCTAD. The NIEO called for a restructuring of global trade relations, which, in the views of the Global South, were structurally biased against their interests and attempted to ensure that the rules of the international trading system were essentially equitable. Specifically, the NIEO sought to ensure that prices for raw materials produced by most countries of the Global South were relatively stable and ensured a sufficient income to provide for domestic needs. The NIEO also sought to promote South-South trade, which advocates hoped would help to diversify their economies. Ultimately, however, the NIEO failed to materialize, and indeed, rather than being strengthened, many of the protections afforded for primary commodity trade were eliminated in the name of globalization and neoliberalization. Similarly, the political project of non-alignment gradually gave way to systems of client states and proxy wars that characterized much of the later Cold War period. Nevertheless, I think it's important to remember the political symbolism of the moment afforded by the Bandung Conference. But that's it for now. If you found this video helpful, click the thumbs up button and subscribe to catch future explainers when they're released. Please leave any questions you have about this video or any suggestions you have for future explainer topics in the comments section below. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good day. Bye.